Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. LolaAjisafe here. So, brethren, we're gathered here today to discuss. So, we all know what happened on Sunday, the Oscars. I'd given like a maybe 1 minute thing on my IG, but you know, I still have some more thoughts. And of course, yesterday I was at work, so you know, real life takes over. I can't worry about what's going on with celebrities and you know, global news and whatever happens. So now today, I had a couple seconds, and I just want to give my 2 cents on my opinion on what occurred in this now infamous slap that was seen across the world between my boy Will and also my boy Chris Rock. So, you know, it's Will Smith and Chris Rock. So let's go. I think that, you know, as black people, we have a tendency to want to, let's say, okay, we have a tendency to want to lay it on thick, publicly destroy each other instead of giving ourselves grace. That's just what it feels like. I'll give you an example. Like, everybody knows about Black Twitter. Black Twitter's no joke. Savages, like, we just go in and we just have a tendency to come at each other, less so at others, but more so at ourselves. There's an understanding, you know, you want to keep it within family, but sometimes we need to be in a space to give ourselves grace. Now, different elements come into this. You know, first of all, I would say, you know, we do have. Oh, let me put in a question form. Could it be a hidden desire to always need to prove ourselves? Well, most black people living in the USA have some form of PTSD, like something's going on, constantly needing to prove ourselves that, you know, we always say, there's this common thing, I've said it myself, that we work twice as hard to be considered equal. You know, at work, you're thinking of that. Then, of course, socially, you want to prove to yourself and to your friends and everybody else that, you know what, you're worthy. You've got all the material trappings to show that you're that person. And it's common knowledge, and we say it ourselves, we say it all the time to ourselves, amongst ourselves, that we have a tendency to be, you know, I don't want to use the term materialistic, but consumers. You know, a lot of these, you know, fashion houses, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, it's like we are the ones, you know, pushing their products. We're always in the latest fashion styling, always want to be in front. So, first of all, just to start with, did Will, in my opinion, do I think Will made a mistake? No doubt. Was Chris Rock's joke, was it in poor taste? Definitely. Do we wish, think, hope that things had happened or played out differently? We do. But what happened is happened. But I kind of want to look at some of the facts as to what I think would be what was behind it and how we should look at it going forward. So first and foremost, I think by all accounts, anyone you ask, they would say that what happened Sunday night at the Oscars, I don't know what time it was, I was going to say precisely at 10:11 p.m. What occurred between Will Smith and Chris Rock was totally out of character, completely out of character for Will Smith. I'm sure he will say it, his colleagues will say it. There was a little snippet I saw sometime this morning where his mum said, everybody has said it, and I will say that what we saw that night was completely out of character. So let's put that on the table. So to go further into deep, you know, kind of like break it down, what do I think might have played into it? Because I think everybody is well aware that the joke was, yeah, it was a cheap shot, but did it warrant that kind of reaction? Now that was like using a double barrel to shoot an ant. Like, you could have used a shoe, you could have sprayed some, you know, Raid. You got a whole double barrel and you fired twice at the ant. And in that thing, in that action, you end up damaging yourself and what's around you, and that's what's coming out right now. So first and foremost, okay, so we there is I don't call it history. We know that Chris Rock and Will Smith are friends, colleagues, acquaintances. They know each other. There's no question here. So we do know there's a video or a tape. We do know that, I think it was the Oscars 2015, 2016, a couple of years ago when Chris Rock was hosting. He had made, a joke, and what his joke was, at that time there was some talk about how, the Oscars were being whitewashed, that there weren't any categories that had any, African American or black, actors who'd been nominated, no nominees, and to them it didn't make sense because quite a few good movies that came out that year that they felt should have been nominated. So at that time, I believe Jada was probably more vocal than Will and said she was boycotting, the Academy Awards, and Chris Rock had cracked a joke at that time on stage. I mean, he when you watch it, he did send a message, because what the Academy did was, because of the backlash they heard, everyone's talking about there are no black nominees, so they decided to go get a black host. All these games they play, political games, so they decided to get a well-known black host. Okay, fine. Chris Rock said, what you're not going to do is make me give up a check. I'm doing this. Like, I've got children to feed, I've got, I don't know, alimony, whatever he's got to do, so the show must continue, the show must go on. I'm going to do this, but I'm going to make a point. So he did make some good points that if you were listening, like, okay, I see where he's going with this. He had a point to prove, and he made his point. But in the midst of his point, when he was mixing, he did make a mention of how, Jada's mention of her not wanting to come to the Academy Awards was the equivalent of him saying that, he doesn't have an invitation he's refusing an invitation from Rihanna. And he says what's consistent between those 2 points is that Rihanna don't want him, aka like the Academy Awards, the Oscars didn't invite her. So she's talking about she's not coming, she wasn't invited, so it's a mute point. That was what his joke was. So could that have started some? It could. That's part of it. I want to say from time, for years, ever since probably Fresh Prince. Because he's always been first known as a rapper, then did Fresh Prince, and then kind of got into movies. And from time of Fresh Prince and as his career grew, he's always been looked at as the most vanilla, harmless, passive black man. Acceptable. He's harmless. Everyone's not. So that's. People use that, not to say that's who he was, but people use that as a reason to explain his success, which is derogatory. So you're saying because people think he's harmless, that's why they're like embracing him. And that's derogatory, and I don't think that didn't make him feel good. He's a black man from West Philly. He knows what the hood is like. He knows what things are like. He still has his self-pride. He has his ego. We're not going to lie. Do we like to, put our ego to the side? Yes, it would be very nice. But human nature, it's really hard to do that. Your ego is still there. Sometimes in, clear moments, in moments of clarity, you can separate yourself from your thoughts and see your ego for what it is. But in real life, every day as you go, some days you don't see it. You skip a couple meditation sessions, you can't separate your ego. So back to my point. So I'm saying, what, he had this reputation, they didn't really think much of him. So that was already a small attack, I think, in my opinion, particularly for a black man living in America, small attack on his manhood. Then, there was this talk that's been going on for years, that, they have an open marriage. That talk came and persisted, but life goes on. Nobody was really sticking with it, but if it came up, people would talk about it. Next thing that really came up that was huge was, the clown that was close to them, I believe it's August A something. His initials are AA. Let's just call him AA. So AA had been in their close proximity, maybe a friend of Jaden's or something, I don't know. And he came out, I don't know what his purpose was, what his reasoning, what he thought he would get out of it. He came out like, disclosing that he had some kind of, I don't know if we used the word entanglement, but anyway, we called it, as we referred it, had some kind of entanglement with Jada. Whether it's true or not, my question is, if you really did, like my G, like if you're a real one, like it's really not for public consumption, what were we going to do with that information? Why did you do it? So first of all, truth is, I don't think anybody respected that move that he made. Like he desperate to sell a record. Is that what it was? To sell a couple CDs. Okay, well, I hope you sold a number of CDs. But from that point on, like the vigor and the venom towards the Smiths increased. And it was, I want to say during that time, if he had felt his manhood had been attacked in the past, I definitely, during that time when that stuff came out, he was definitely emasculated. Like it was like on 100, he couldn't have felt good about it. No living man, male, will feel good about one, even if it's not true. the thoughts in his mind, even though he knows it's not true, him thinking about it, one, two, his boys ribbing about him, and then the public at large. We're talking about a global scale. Will Smith is known to millions of people. He's a blockbuster star. Pulls 20 plus million a picture for the big movies. So on a global stage, that people are now looking at him with disdain. And so we can say, well, that we can say all these fancy enlightened words and phrases, but the truth is he probably felt emasculated and beaten down. And then to break the camel's back, that red table interview they did, Will Smith didn't look like himself. That's all I have to say. He didn't look like himself. What led him to agree to sit at that table with his wife, maybe it was out of love, whatever it was, to try and address and quieten down all the noise. I don't think it helped, and it really, I think, in my opinion, it gave, you know what, it gave insight to everybody else that this guy he looked broken and beat down. But we still, as a public, didn't stop hammering. I guess we don't have anything better to do, so we kept hammering. So you can only imagine how this is all going on over a few years. No, he's not hungry. No, he doesn't have to worry about things some regular people have to worry about: rent, mortgage, the kids, tuition, this, all these different things. But he has his own. Everybody at each level, you have your own problems. Anyhow you put it, at every level you are, there are problems. What's Biggie's song? More money, more problems. More money, more problems. And it really is hard to face problems on a global stage. It's easier to deal with it in the proximity of your home and a few people know. But when you talk about millions of people talking about you, and they're not even talking true facts, and even if they are, it still hurts. It can't be fun. And then in all of that, I don't know, was there any therapy to resolve this? Did they just kind of have a talk and feel like they've done it? Even if they did have therapy, sometimes it takes a while to heal. That's just the truth. Sometimes it just takes a while to heal. And then I think of most recently was when they were on the red carpet with, I think the lady's name is Laverne Scott. Correct me if I'm wrong. Laverne Scott said something fresh. I didn't even watch the clip because I didn't think it warranted anything. Something fresh mentioned something about entanglement. Just disrespectfully. I'm not sure what she was getting at, what she was hinting at. Maybe she was trying to crack a joke. I don't know. I don't know. We don't know the genesis of why she said it and what her point was, what she was trying to achieve. We don't know, but it happened, and it must have hurt. Because what they do, they smiled it off, and I think they just pretended to put it beneath them. But they're humans. That's the truth. All right, so we know, to just get some lateral history, we know from time they have, Jada and Will have had some difference in opinion of things. It's not news that Will, and both Jada said this, that Will definitely wanted more children, but she didn't. And she wanted to, after the two, he wanted more. He wanted a brood. He wanted, kids running around the house, picket fence, the whole thing. He felt like, I'm making enough money for both of us. You don't have to work. Let's do this. But she had dreams of her own that she wanted to achieve. So after the second child, that's when she had that heavy metal band. I think it's called Wicked Wisdom or something like that. And then she was touring, so all these things didn't happen. So we definitely see they had challenges. Her challenges too were, other than him not wanting, him wanting children and not getting more children, not getting them. And then also she feeling, or probably felt like she was living in the shadow of his stardom. But she, as a person, not man, not woman, as a person, wanted to fulfill some goals. I wanted to, really see some of her work and be proud of her own work and not just live in a shadow. It wasn't enough to be Will Smith's wife for her. I can't judge her for that. I can't criticize her for that. I can't. It's not my life. She's a human. I get that. So of course they had a difference in opinion, but of course they decided and agreed amongst themselves that nothing was going to split them apart. They was going to stick together. So whether they had an open marriage or not, I don't know. And I don't know, and I don't know anyone that knows, but that's not even the point. I don't care to know either. It's between them. They've decided they're going to stick this through and get it through. Because even at the red table, they had a joke like bad marriage for life, and did the, with the Bad Boys theme, bad marriage for life, gave her a pound. Maybe that's their way of joking on it and trying to get through the pain. But either way, they've decided that they're going to stick it together. I mean, we can't say what we would do. The fact is, that's what they decided to do, and we should respect that's what they want to do. So let's talk about, Chris Rock and his the weak joke. It was really a weak. It wasn't even a joke. It was I don't know. Maybe I don't even know if it was a cheap shot or just a weak. I don't know. Whatever it was. The reference to G.I. Jane. We all know about the G.I. Jane movie that came out eons ago. Sometime I don't know. Maybe 20 years ago. Sometime. And it was the main star was Demi Moore. And in that movie, to make it more authentic, she had done what maybe no mainstream actress had done. I think she shaved her head, because not unusual for an actress to shave her head for a role, but maybe in that period of time it hadn't happened in a while, so it was a big thing also because at that time she was big as well. So shaved her head for the movie, and so that was the reference when he said, okay, G.I. Jane 2 da da da. Okay, so yes, that comment may have irritated her, but you know what I'm thinking really is reason why I feel like that joke shouldn't have landed is because Jada, with or without hair, is beautiful, gorgeous. And if anything at all, I hope that if she doesn't feel that sometimes and doesn't know that in all of this noise, that it will become apparent to her in her spirit and she'll know. I feel like she knows, but just in case she doesn't, let all this noise, when it settles, when all the dust settles, let her move with that knowledge, knowing who she is. I'm not sure what she practices, but just having that within, something within, the peace within. Because with or without hair, and she wears that, not everybody can wear her hair like that. I don't know, Jada, any which way, hair, no hair, you're a bad chick. That's it. So that's why I feel like the joke was pointless, because it didn't mean anything to me. But then I'm not her. I wasn't sitting in that position. So yes, she definitely may have been irritated, may have been hurt, whatever her feelings were. I just hope that now some time has passed, I hope she feels a different way about it. So let's talk about the Academy for a second. As we're building like a lateral bridge to come full circle. The Academy Awards, has had poor rating for years. There's no secret. Like, when was the last time I watched it? Like, I didn't watch this one. When I saw the clips, I'm like, oh snap, something happened. That's what most of us did. Most of us were not watching. But when that happened, we're like, huh? What? So it's been no secret, poor ratings for years. For years, there's been talk like we need to boycott the Academy Awards. They're not representing for people of color. We don't have to, worship there. Let's bring our own show, and that honors us, that appreciates our work. Why are we always trying to pine to somebody else's table instead of trying to beg to have a seat at somebody else's table? Let's build our own table and do our own thing. So there's been all this talk of stuff. So most of us, it's a long show. For the most part, I ain't gonna lie, boring. You have somebody playing violin, like nobody trying to do that on a Sunday night, like you want to go to bed. So anyway, so for a long time the boycott, it's been boring. So truth is, everyone will tell you that there are elements of racism within Hollywood, period. That's it. Yeah, liberalism won't be, the racism is still there, but truth is, money is green. That's, that green can supersede that. Okay, I'm not into chocolate, or chocolate can't sell a movie or sell out theaters. And so after years of dropping numbers in viewership, what did the Academy do? They decided that they wanted someone to source. Let me put it to you like this. I feel that we know this, but let me say it again. As black people, black culture influences popular culture. I'm going to say black culture influences popular culture, period, point blank. We've got the source, we've got the juice. You see things going on, both fashion, music, imitation, comes back to black culture. That's when the appropriation of culture comes up. Whatever we're doing, body forms, outfits, how we walk, how we talk, everything, it dictates popular culture. What's going on when you see elements of popular culture? I dare to say that most of it, almost 95% of it, is black culture. That's now been made mainstream. So Academy Awards, they know this, they see this, they're not dummies, they're smart people. They decide, okay, we want some of that sauce on this show. We need to get our flagging ratings up. So what do? We're gonna get some black producers to produce the next show, to make it interesting. Let's get the audience back to us, because we've lost them. We're out of touch. Let's come on, so who's in touch. Who do they get? Will Packer Productions. And what Will Packer did was, he decided, I believe she was his right hand woman, who would always kind of was like right behind him. He decided, I guess, to reward her, that they were going to be co-producers in the show. So it wasn't just going to be under Will Packard Productions. It was going to be Will Packard. I believe her name is Shayna. I'll find out what her name is. But it was Shayna, and I'll put it in credits. But I believe her, her thing is like Shayna PC or something. So they produced the Academy Awards. And the little I saw of it when I went back to see clips, they did their thing, and you can even see there was, both in the presenters, how it was presented, the flow, there was a difference. I promise you, there was a difference. And it just seemed like such a more varied show. In the midst of all this noise, we missed all the categories, people that won, the interesting things, What's his name? Questlove, for his documentary. That's amazing. Samuel L. Jackson's first Oscar from his homie, Denzel, my uncle Denzel, the original G. Those moments were lost because of this particular event, this incident. But take heart. The show was well produced, and there'll be talk of, did this incident overshadow the success of what a great job they did? Will people be able to see and appreciate the great job that was done? I think those of us with eyes and that are aware of who produced the show, we can see. But honestly, you know what? With all this noise, hoopla, talk, there's something they say in show business. There's no such thing as bad press. It's press. So I would say that the Academy will, if they do not pick Will Packard Productions to produce next year's show, they goofed. So, anybody hearing my voice and you're related to the Academy, I'm telling you right now, because people are waiting and ready. And if we don't bring another Will Packard Productions show, or another Academy Awards produced by Will Packard and Shayna, we're going to give up on you people, and we'll be done. And we're truly going to build another table because they did it. And you need to give props where they're due. Will Packard, Shayna, great job. Unfortunately, this happened, but I don't want to say unfortunately either way, because I said in show business, there's no such thing as bad press. It's just press. So, to get to my main point, I said, the question I've made as the title, of course, was, did the slap that was seen across the world, did it represent practicing, did it represent protecting black women at all costs? Yeah. I'm a black woman. I know lots of black women. I wouldn't say we as black women, we felt isolated, disregarded, disrespected, publicly and privately. It just is what it is. And it's, there's always been that thing that, the voices speaking up for us, the voices praising us, telling us, put your head up, sis. It's you. And not as loud as the voices telling us that we're the angry black woman. We look like this. We're objectified in these, videos, butt up in the air, twerking, like that's all we signify. It, a large part of the public image doesn't represent what a black woman is. There's this one-sided, myopic view of black women. And what I think hurts more is that some of that noise and derogatory remarks are coming from brothers, men who look like us but have no respect for us and held us in disregard and say being in relationships with us means that they want trouble. There's always going to be arguments and there's always problems because we're problematic. That's insulting at the very least, and sad and depressing, and really does show like the PTSD that runs rampant and deep into the spirit of people who live here. And I'm not saying there aren't black men that say great things, but I said that the voices of those that do have been suppressed by the louder voices of those that don't speak well of us. I've heard, people have some experience with black women and all of a sudden group women as a black woman as a bunch, as a whole. Look at Dr. Ketanji Brown's Jackson's her the hearing. the complete disrespect. Like this, that would be a whole nother conversation. But the complete disrespect, being spoken to in such a demeaning manner, ask questions that you shouldn't even ask of a child, disrespecting her, someone who is overqualified for the position. It would be a privilege for the Supreme Court to have that woman as one of the judges. It would be a privilege, not because she's a black woman, but because what she brings with her. Look at the so that to me, like if you look at what she went through, the dumb questions they were asking her, hour after hour after hour, things they didn't do to other people they swore in or they did hearings for, but she had to be subjected to that. But did you see a quiet, just a demeanor, just quiet, but peaceful, confident, strength, the quiet strength that she had. She sat, and when she corrected them with strength, but soft. You know what? So looking at those hearings of Judge, so let me call her properly, Judge Ketanji Jackson Brown, what she has gone through the last couple of days over a hearing for her to go into Supreme Court, it's parallel to what we go through as black women in this country, and sometimes in other countries too. Just that lack of appreciation. So there's always been this, this quiet hum from us saying that, brothers, like, we're not feeling the appreciation. We don't see or always hear you speaking of us with kind words in public, and sometimes even in private, like encouragement. So we've always said that, where are the people protecting and standing for black women? Because they touch a brother. Like, we're out there, we're on the streets, we're talking, we're doing this. But it's like sometimes when it comes to a woman who was harmed in the public eye, the noise is not as much. There's not much talk. It doesn't go very far. George Floyd, we were out there. But look at other women who've been in that situation, not like that, but similar situations. The uproar, and I know it's not exactly the same, but it's parallel. Because, we haven't, at least there hasn't been public video of a woman being literally murdered in public like that. But it's just like black women in situations like that don't get the equivalent kind of, they don't get embraced, encouraged. Their issues don't get, up to the front. I mean, everybody, I'm a physician, I work in a hospital, so I know these things. I do see. Is it everyone doing it? But it's almost unspoken. It's a bias that they're not even aware of, an unknown bias sometimes. You black women come in, oh yeah, they can take the pain, and they just don't get the attention they should. There are people more aware of it, there's been more noise. But the thing is, here as a whole, as black women, how much are we really being just appreciated? So here, back to the point here is like, okay, was this a point for this? And it would be an extreme example of, protecting a black woman at all costs. It's an extreme example. If you put it as a phrase, a black man on a public platform, such as the Academy Awards, chooses to risk it all for his wife. As a headline, as a movie, as a book, it's like, whoa, protect the black woman. That's a perfect example of protect the black woman in a story. But in real life, really, is it? Is it, on one hand, you could, for a minute, you could say, oh, wow. But does it have to be, do we have to go through that to feel like that? I would say things have become so bad in terms of us not feeling protected that we would look at this incident and say, well, at least it's an example of a black man protecting his black woman, his wife. That's how extreme we have to get, if that's the first thing we can say. Because I would say when it first happened, I think all of us when we first saw that, we thought it was a joke. I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm still looking like, okay. I think days later we're still like, yo, was that real? Like, I see Chris Rock say something about it. I see, Will Smith do something. I see him apologize. I see people during the break when you see those videos, come to talk with him. Yo, like, we're still like, everybody's still kind of waiting for the I got you. Like, woo, you've been punked. Because it's just, it's a lot. So it's such an extreme example. But see, once we get over the shock, we're like, oh, well, that's what it is. Because we've We've been so deprived of the public embrace, public love. Do we need to have self-love for ourselves? Yes, we do. But, having your brothers appreciate you and show love is something that you can't really replace. When people talk about the slap, those who are in support of him will say that, oh yeah, y'all didn't know he from West Philly, those are in support of him, that yeah, that's a black man protecting his black woman, yeah, that's so say that, like, yeah, there's all these things, like when you poke the bear, like you can't dictate the reaction you're gonna get. There's all this, we hear that. These are all in support of, like, yeah, now we're feeling like, yeah, they've been protected. Then people who are talking against him, they're saying that, as soon as it happened, he should have been escorted by security and been arrested. They should take his Oscar away from him. They're coming up with all manner of punishment that he should be subjected to. But dare I say that those people who are crying for punishment, they're full of hate. They're saying that he should have been full of love, but they themselves that are crying for his, crucifixion, just for him to be crucified. Those crying for him to be crucified are full of hate. It's hate. Because it says in the Bible, like, he who has not sinned should cast the first stone. Which one of you is innocent? Just because you've not been on a global stage such as that with those. And don't get me wrong, I'm not excusing what happened, but I'm saying those of you that, have got put him on the stake and burn him. He needs to be suspended. He needs to be all this. He needs to know that I promise you, this guy knows the impact of his actions. Don't be fooled. This night was meant to be about him winning an Academy Award that he's trying to get for 20 years. You think he doesn't know? But now all we talk about is the slap. How many people talk about his Academy Award after his speech? No one. So, people talking about, yeah, he needs to know the impact of his actions. Reaction. You're full of hate. That's all. That's my opinion. Because there's more to it than that. And that's why I started at top, where we as black people need to give each other grace. We don't. We need to give each other grace. We should. We need to. This PTSD prevents us from seeing us in each other. It prevents me from seeing me in you. Because ultimately we're all connected. There's a common thread. But when we don't see ourselves in the other person, we want the other person burnt. We want the other person punished. But if you can identify with, whoa, what's going on? Then it won't be, the instant reaction won't be, oh, burn him, put him on the stake. People coming up, they need to take his Oscar from him. Oh, the other Oscar holders have done worse. Many. And I'm not excusing his behavior, but there are many other Oscar winners who have done worse. Let's call it spade a spade. So you people talking about, yeah, they need to take his Oscar, and that y'all doing too much. Because the truth is, could he have and should he have handled it better? I betcha. But the truth is, in that moment, he did the best he was able to do. At that time. As human beings, we do the best we know and the best we can in the moment. That's the truth. Once again, this is not support. This is just me kind of breaking it down in my mind to make it make sense. I want to kind of go back to Chris Rock for a second. So we already decided that his joke was in poor taste. Who wrote it, why they wrote it, why it got through to the final, we will never know. The purpose, we will never know. But the point is, I want to applaud him. I don't know why do you want to applaud him? That guy stood there, slapped by a fellow black man on a public, global stage. But he kept it within him and remained professional. He didn't react. He didn't react out of, oh my goodness, because the first thing would be, a bunch of people say, oh, it won't be me. Like, we'll be there. Do you know or understand the strength it required for him not to react? Because if he had reacted, it would turn to something completely different, and we'll be talking about something else today. But the strength it required for him not to react and to continue with the show and talk with the age-old adage, the show must continue, the show must go on. What's his name? Yesterday's price is not today's price. That's how I feel about, Chris Rock. Yesterday's price is not today's price. That's the ultimate example of the show must go on, because the show went on. They had a little back and forth, and then he went on with the show. Yo, Chris Rock, yeah, I didn't think your joke was cool, but yo, that you need to be applauded for. I mean, the word on the street is like his ticket prices have gone up. That, yeah, yesterday's price is not today's price, period. Like, if you want an example of how to be professional, and like, regardless of what happens, let that show go on. The show went on. Guaranteed. Chris Rock, you did it. You did not let that moment escalate. You know what? He de-escalated the situation. Police force of all the states in the country. That's how you de-escalate. You don't up the ante with more aggression. You bring it down. He brought it down. I'm not saying a policeman should be slapped and not do anything. Yeah, no. You don't have to. And then cuff the person. Not bring out your gun or do all this. Maybe you might need a taser. Okay. But if you want to give a training course to police departments in de-escalation, play that video for them. Because that man stood there on a public stage, a global stage, might I add, and didn't allow his ego to make him want to react to save face. Because that's what police officers do. They save face. Like, oh my goodness, how are you going to come at me like that? I'm a police officer. I'm a man of the law. And all of a sudden you bring out your gun and you kill someone. But what did that guy do? He stood there and said, oh wow, I've been slapped by Will Smith. This happened for a reason. You know, I'm one who believes that everything happens for a reason. This happened for a reason. I'm just saying, like, all you police departments that act like gangs, y'all need to go get that video and use that for training. Because he at that moment, he could have felt like he had a lot to lose and taken it somewhere else. You see how when you have aggression and you match the aggression, doesn't get any better. It goes like this, it goes like this. The aggression came like this and he just stayed right here. And the guy walked away. What if he had decided to hold the guy and swing? They would have been cutting a rug, like right there. It would have run amok. It would have been a complete mess. But not only did he not hit, responded with the swing, went back, came back, kept talking. Like he didn't miss a beat. Yo, Chris Rock is the ultimate performer. And he'll be rewarded for it. But you know, there's more I have to add here. Because I think we all saw this moment. Because when Chris Rock first told that joke, y'all saw Will. Like, Will smiled, or did he even laugh? Like, it looked like he laughed to me, like, you know, it was like a chuckle. And then camera panned to Jada and she didn't look amused. And then all of a sudden, shortly after that, we see, you know, Will Smith striding with big strides towards Chris Rock. And I think at that point, everybody's like, what the hell? What's going on? Like, is this part of the show? I think that's what we were thinking. We were all thinking, is this part of the show? And then, boom! Like that was like the fake movie slap, right? And then walks back. But it didn't end there. Like he's like, beep, 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 keep my wife's name out of your beep, beep mouth. What? Like if it was staged, like he won't be using real cuss words. Cause you know, he's always been known to be clean. Maybe this is real. Like, because we got the sound not from the American networks. Other networks that don't bleep stuff out were able to give us the sound. So the sounds you might see, other videos you'll see, you'll have, you know, different languages. I think there's an Australian version or different versions where we actually got like the bleep, bleep, bleep. But I believe when it was playing on American TV, they had bleeped out the curse words. And then I think the sound went out, actually. I think the sound went out. I'm told the sound went out because I didn't watch it live. I haven't watched the Oscars in years. It's boring. So the question now is, what transpired between Will Smith smiling and him striding to go slap Chris Rock? What happened? I have another question. And this question I'm asking, maybe y'all can answer in the comments. Second question I have is, when Jada saw her husband stand up and look the way he was looking and start striding, could she have prevented him, held him down, said, baby, hold up, it's not worth it? Could she have done that? Like, it happened so fast, I don't know. And the truth is, will we really ever know the questions? And the answers to that question, could they have, could it change things? I don't know. Yes, in my mind, it's like, she saw her husband stand up. And, 1 minute he looked okay. 1 minute he looked like the Will Smith we know, and the next minute, like, we don't know who that was. Like, if he had that wild eye or wild look in his eye, his wife would have seen it, right? We may never know the answer to these questions directly from them. We can speculate. I'd love to know what people think. But will that change things? I don't know. But I would say, you know, when things like this happen, when things happen, there's always a lesson. What's the lesson? I think for me, the lesson I'm breaking down is one, grace. That's the first thing. Grace. If Chris Rock had grace towards Will Smith and Will Smith's wife, maybe he wouldn't have he wouldn't have agreed to do that joke, even if somebody else wrote it for him, because we know for these shows, they have writers, people write these jokes. When it's a big show like this on a global platform, they try and get the best jokes possible, so they have writers. If he had grace, it's possible he probably didn't know that, you know, Jada was wearing her hair low or a buzz cut because of alopecia. He may not know, because he has his own life. He's not like watching Jada's IG page or watching the Red Table. He probably isn't. He may not have known. But if he had the grace to say, that might not work, you know, that's my boy's wife, maybe I shouldn't do it. Like, if he had the grace in him, then he probably wouldn't have told the joke. Will Smith. If Will Smith had that grace towards his brother, Chris Rock, like, yo, you did me wrong, but what we're gonna do is we want to settle this properly. Like, let me see you backstage. He could have even walked up, said something, you know, but it's hard, you know, it's easier for me to say, and that point of, you know, that pent-up anger, it'd been building probably for years, for months, you know, people coming at them. So it's hard to say that he could have moderated that anger and molded it into something positive. It's hard, you know, but maybe he could have decided to just, because sometimes, you know, before you blow up and explode with anger, there's a split second when you can decide, am I going to be angry or am I not? It's a split second. You have 1 second to decide. So if you're taking a breath, if maybe Jada's arm had touched him, 1 second could have changed the whole thing. But yeah, if he had the grace for his brother, he may not have come for him in public or in that way. Like, yo, he could have knocked his ass out in a car park. Like, yo, that's between brothers. Like, siblings fight all the time. But we all siblings know what you're not going to do is fight in public. You're not going to fight in front of company. That's the difference. Because I ain't gonna lie to you and say siblings don't fight. Now, I throw a punch at 1 or 2 people in my house because I don't get angry much, but when I get angry, it's like it's like a dark, like a hole, like my peripheral vision's gone. So yeah, I've thrown a couple punches. I trust you, but not in public, not in front of friends, not in front of other people, not in front of company. So could he still have wanted to hit him and hit him? Yeah, you could have just walked off to the backstage and met him there and swung and got good too. That would have been, you know, a beef between brothers. And they would have squashed it. People would have come, hey guys, stop. You know how guys like to settle things with their fists. They will finish fighting and then they'll be calm. They could have done it. So this is grace. If there was grace between them, it would have played different. And I think most of all, or more importantly, as black people as a whole, we need to have grace for each other. We need to really get to a point where we no longer feel we need to prove ourselves. You and me. I'll tell you this, what I'm talking about now. Don't we feel the pressure, like wherever we work or wherever we are, that we're representing the whole black race? So we have to, you're at work and you're doing your best because heaven forbid, like I mess up, that means every black person behind me is going to get it. Like, why do we have to be such a huge responsibility? Why do we have to feel we're responsible for every black person? Do carry yourself respectfully, yes, but maybe we need to let go of that pressure living in this country and just embrace us for who we are, how we look. And I think one of the last lessons I want to give is to all non-black people who can hear the sound of my voice. One black person does not represent or signify the whole black race, good or bad. If you come across someone who is great, doesn't mean all black people are great. And doesn't mean you come one black person who's really cool and down. It doesn't mean all of us are cool and down. Some black people don't have rhythm. Some black people can't dance. Can you imagine that? But it's like, that's the thing. Like, just be sure. So if you have any bad experience, it doesn't mean that every black person is bad. Like, I can only imagine the pressure that, you know, President Obama felt in the White House. First black president. Oh, I've got to be very proper. Poor guy. When that White House, you know, black hair came out Snow White. Meanwhile, and it's hard to compare because it's different. We know this. We know there's a double standard. Black and white is a different standard. Different rules. They follow different rules. It is. We know this. But we need to start tearing it down. Not giving it credence anymore. Because it's tearing us apart. And we're now attacking each other because we're so desperate to keep up appearances. After all, that's why we have all different representations. That's why we talk when we're at work. And then the Bunnings will be like, yeah, what's up, my G, like we do at home. Like, yeah. And it's nice to be able to flow between the two. But that came from the fact that we feel a certain way. We don't feel secure. We're not confident in who we are. I would say that I feel like imposter syndrome is from Black people. Like, we might be the most qualified people on the block, but we still second guess ourselves because of all the stuff that's come from, that's come from our ancestors, all what they've been through. And it just hasn't, people look at it like, huh. So I think those are the lessons. We need to give grace to each other, but take a second. And appreciate where we've come from and what we've achieved. And that's my 2 cents on the slap that was seen across the world. Did it represent, protecting Black women at all costs? Yeah, it did, but Black women could be, how about you protect us every day? Like, you see me somewhere, just on a regular day. Like, come to with respect. Like in LA, guys, respect the ladies out there. That's all I have to say. Like, it shouldn't need to be such an extreme example. Could it be considered neglect? Could, but that's not what that's not what we want. That's not what we're getting at. We don't need it to get to that. That's all I'm saying. That's my 2 cents. I love to hear what everyone thinks in the comments. You guys tell me, like, let's make this a conversation, not just to talk, but like in our different spaces, how can we kind of shift and start a new narrative and be as fabulous as we are. I dressed up for this video, as you can see. We're talking about the Academy Awards. And just be fabulous, because we are fabulous. But really embrace that. Like, some days when we're feeling all crunk, be like, yeah, I'm fabulous. But no, feel fabulous when you're waking up. Feel fabulous when you're walking. Feel fabulous all day. And know you're fabulous. Not just that, fake bravado, but really, bolstered by insecurity. No, you're fabulous, and that's what you are. Because that fake bravado makes you now feel the need to put other people down, because that's the only way you can prop yourself up. But if you feel that way, then you will be that way, and it'll be a knowing. I want you to know that you're fabulous. Black people, you're fabulous. I love you. It's been real. Thanks for listening to my 2 cents, and I'll see you in the next video. Lola, over and out. Have a wonderful day.